Never say never. Trump. Why we should think twice about vowing off any candidate. Hey guys, Saint here. When I turned 18, the number one thing that I was most excited about was being able to vote. Not just because it's part of my civic duty, but that voting was a way of expressing my opinion about something in a way that can affect change. I know many people don't think that voting matters, but this isn't a discussion on that. Being in a two-party system like the United States is, we have a primary system, where individuals from all different backgrounds and many times different spectrums run to see if they will win the support of our party. This is unlike the parliamentary system where smaller parties abound and coalitions are typically formed. The current makeup of the British Parliament is as such, where there are 13 parties. Now currently, the Conservatives own enough seats so that they don't have to have a coalition. I personally don't mind the two-party system. I think the U.S. Constitution set up the best governmental system that Earth has had. And while it isn't perfect, it's the best available. I understand that the two-party system isn't built within the Constitution. The Constitution pretty much enables the two-party system to thrive the best. However, since people from all spectrums are vying for one position, it can happen that in order to win, candidates must be demonized. Enter the 2012 election. During this election, Christians argued that we shouldn't vote for presidential candidate Mitt Romney because he's a Mormon. There was a CNN article that argued, I think Mitt Romney's a good moral man, but those of us who are born again followers of Christ should prefer a competent Christian. The author of that original quote, not the author of the piece, later goes on to describe Mormonism as a cult. By definition, Mormonism is a cult. However, to disqualify him from a moral stance because of his faith, it's going a step further than just saying we should vote for candidate X because of Y reasons. When arguing between two choices, if we make a moral argument where we demonize one position because it's wrong, in order to elevate a second position, we make the choice a moral one and one that becomes personal. And moral individuals of principle cannot simply ignore an incorrect or immoral choice. There were many articles like the one that I just referenced that appeared across the internet. As a result, an estimated 4 million fewer Republicans voted as compared to 2008. The reason to vote was significantly more compelling, and Romney did not run the best of campaigns. But in retrospect, articles like the one I have in my notes that talks about where the voters went, argue that, quote, obviously when the R's put up a poor candidate and argue we should vote for the lesser of two evils, many Christians balk, realizing that the lesser of two evils is in fact still evil to them. I have seen many reasons why people don't feel they can vote in good conscience for Donald Trump. They stem from the fact that they don't believe he's presidential enough. He isn't a real conservative. He isn't completely pro-life. He has flip-flopped on a number of issues. He really doesn't believe in candidate X or Y, and he won't lower taxes enough. His certain stances on certain issues aren't strong enough. And I don't disagree with that. And that's why you have to vote your conscience when it comes to the primary. You've got to work hard. You can donate money. Do everything within your power to get him elected. But in a two-party system, when a candidate is decided upon, we have to support them. The candidate that I voted for, since my state has already voted, is no longer in the race. And I had a tough choice to make. But I've done my part, and I've voted, and I'm waiting to see what ends up happening. The only thing I can do now is talk to friends of mine who haven't yet to vote, maybe donate money to a specific candidate that I want to support, or volunteer to help that candidate. But I need to be pro my candidate, not against a specific one. You can't demonize a candidate just because you don't want them to win. Ben Shapiro recently proclaimed that he was a never Trump. And in this article, which I have linked below, he said, am I willing to risk a Hillary presidency not to vote for Trump? The answer is yes. The reason the answer is yes is because I'm not going to watch the only party that has a possibility of reflecting conservatism descend into this. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to be complicit in the death of the conservative movement at the hands of Donald Trump. If we're going to have an opposition, let it be the opposition. Let us not be our own opposition. I thought this whole battle was about taking the party back from the establishment. And so the idea is now we're going to hand it over to the one person who is going to destroy. He's not going to destroy the establishment, but destroy the possibility of conservatism. Really? Really, Ben is awesome on so many things, but I couldn't disagree with him more. If it comes down to it, and if Trump is the nominee, we have to vote for him. If you think he's liberal on issues like taxation, abortion, Supreme Court nominees, whatever it is, the alternative is significantly worse. The last time a Clinton won the race for the White House, a businessman ran, took votes away from the Republican nominee. We face a similar situation if we aren't careful. All of you individuals who couldn't vote for Romney for whatever reason, whether it be his stance on abortion, his religious stance, his more liberal stance on things, whatever. Has Obama really done a better job? Are whatever your stances or reasons for not voting for him better in your mind after 4 years of that? I highly doubt it. Little advice to the following, to candidates, who are remaining. I just finished watching the debate, and it was pretty decent. It was a lot better than the previous one that was hosted by Fox News, where it just was nothing more than a bunch of got you questions. I have to admit that on my personal account, I did try to give some advice to Ted Cruz about talking about his issues and stuff like that, and that's what you've got to do. Everyone, whether it be Ted Cruz, John Kasich actually hasn't been doing that, so props to him. But him and Marco need to focus on the issues, focus on what makes them the best choice, and if they need to, maybe illustrate some of the differences. I think Marco did a great job doing that when he was talking about Cuba tonight. Trying to gotcha question Trump does nothing but hurt them. Look at what happened to Marco previously. I don't think it's going to work because Trump supporters are not supporting him in a way that little gotcha questions are going to affect things. They're supporting him because what he says, some of his stances on things, and the fact that they want to stick it to the man. And that's the Republican establishment. Anyway, those are my 2 cents. Tell me about yours. What do you think? Are you a member of the Never Trump movement? Are you prepared for or believe the world and the U.S. will be better served by Hillary or Bernie if your Republican candidate doesn't win? Let's talk about it.